All right, welcome again to another episode of Sihat Beyond The Clinic, where we unpack real issues affecting Malaysians beyond hospitals' walls. Today's topic is a bit uncomfortable, it's controversial, and for many, it also feels personal. Have you ever heard of the word? Or people say, boss, bully saya lah. Kat tempat kerja
All
saya
the
rasa
time.
kena bully lah. Saya stress lah. But here's the real question. Are you being bullied? Or you tak boleh nak handle pressure sebenarnya? And then perlu ke you report? Tapi bila you report to HR, is HR on your side? Across Malaysia, this kind of conversations around toxic workplaces memang selalu dengar on social media, selalu baca kan. And then got formal complaints also, and also even in the industrial court. But the line between strong leadership and psychological harm is not always clear. So today we're asking our very expert panels about where is the line and who decided. Joining me today is Dr. Ruta, our very own editorial director, Dr. Vicky, our executive producer, and our very special guest today, Encik Fuad Ahmad Zamri, a neuro-linguistic programmer. His CV is extensive. He's executive leadership coach, a human capital development consultant, a HRDC accredited trainer. He has more than 30 years of corporate experience in human capital management, talent development, and organizational development. He's a certified master coach, certified NLP coach, certified NLP master practitioner, and also has a Master of Science in HRM. He is the president of Malaysian Association of Certified Coaches and also a board member of Academy of NLP Malaysia. He is a partner consultant at Glow Coach and an associate consultant at Manaf Gardner Associates. Welcome everyone to our panel today.
Thank you.
Let's start with a scenario. An employee is repeatedly criticized in meetings, excluded from discussions, kena pulau, given unrealistic deadlines, kena siapkan kerja cepat kan. Tapi tak ada letter pun, tak ada surat rasmi pun. There's no formal action. So Encik Fuad, let's hear from you. Is this bullying or just management?
Thank you, Tami.
Yep.
You see, in Malaysia, workplace bullying refers to repeated or unreasonable behavior, whether verbal, psychological, physical, or digital. That causes or likely to cause intimidation, humiliation, distress, or harm to an employee. And all these action may also constitute as a criminal offence under kita punya penal code 507B and 50G, where it result in harassment or fear. So whether you're going to call it as bullying or just management response, it all depends on what happens actually. But as a guide, and probably this can help. For example, pressure on work normally is a leadership response. That means it's something that as a leader you need to provide the response, that type of pressure. But pressure on identity, personal, so that is what we term as bullying.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Fuad. So if we look at bullying itself from the health lens, of course, there's a lot of impact lah. Whether or not, HR calls it as bullying or we perceive it as bullying, bullying definitely has health impact. So if someone feels like they're constantly being threatened, humiliated, or constantly stressed, then there can be negative impacts such as anxiety, stress, and burnout. And a lot of this will actually affect the mental health. As we know, mental health is the hot topic in town today.
Yeah.
So when it affects the mental health, so in medical, even the perception of bullying, let's say you haven't get bullied, but you already have the percept that you're being a victim of bully, it's already going to trigger all this impact.
But then if you work in a very high pressure environment, then somebody say, if you can't handle the pressure, then you tak payah kerja sini lah, or you don't belong here. So where do we draw the line whether it's appropriate or not?
So actually, high performance environment is not the problem. Okay, there are a lot of high performers and they are able to perform under stress. The issue is that the feedback must be structured from their management towards the employee. It has to be delivered in a professional manner. It has to be focused on the work or the work processes rather than a feedback on the person per se. That means it shouldn't be personal. Okay, so the moment it becomes a public humiliation, that means the feedback is given even when everyone else is present, or there's personal attacks towards that one particular person by the employer, or there's a fear-based management, there's fear-mongering going on. So that's no longer performance, that's harm already. Yeah.
So, if a leader say, if you can't handle pressure, you don't belong here.
Yeah.
So this by itself actually is not illegal, yeah, but it become riskier if it started to be repeated, very targeted, and said it in the humiliating and threatening way, and also something that you use to justify your continuous psychological pressure, yeah, and we can actually make a distinction between acceptable leadership pressure and also toxic type of pressure. So acceptable leadership pressure are things like, the boss or the leader give clear expectation, clear accountability, stretch goal, and performance standard, give constructive but respectful challenge, and focus on tasks and the result. Okay? But when it become personal attacks, something like just now, like you don't belong here, right? Okay, and then you say it in public, so you're humiliating a person in public, and there is persistent intimidation using fear tactics, yeah, and you focus on the person, not on the performance. So then this is actually workplace bullying.
Sometimes we also hear that they get shouted at work, semua kan kena
Yeah.
jerit depan orang, malu. What about those type of yang the subtle, the invisible bullying, like kena pulau senyap-senyap? What about that? What do you think?
So if we look like all of us here come from different background, right? So definitely part of our work life, we would have experienced this lah, people shouting at us, speaking ill about us,
Yeah,
and all.
yeah.
It's part of our
Behind
work.
your back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, but things like when they start leaving you out of meetings, when they start giving you silent treatment, or when they start, subtly damaging your reputation, then I think this is very not fair to the worker lah. Because, at the end, everyone comes to work. Of course, number one is to take care of their rice bowl. Number two, everyone is looking for their own personal growth. So if the ideal way would be if you could help people grow rather than, damaging them lah.
Feeling belong lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Malaysia, actually, the cultural hierarchy behind a workplace makes it worse because employees hesitate to usually speak up. Okay, they feel that tak apalah, if I bring this up or if I blow a whistle to the HR, then I'm afraid that I'm going to be labelled. This is a tough person, this is difficult person to handle, or fear of retaliation. Already somebody is bullying that particular person at workplace. So if the complaint is raised up in a formal manner, is it going to make the situation worse? Yeah, and then respect for authority. That's the most. I guess most Malaysians have that habit of looking at their superiors as someone who is the leader. So it's okay, tak apa, whatever you do, I listen, I succumb to it. But there's a line where they cannot see whether this is bullying or this is within the black and white JD, the job description, that what they're supposed to do. So the silence hides the problem.
So when you face this kind of problems at work, you go to HR to kononnya report lah, kan, in confidentiality. Or is it supposed to be confidential or not? So is HR a safe place for the workers to go, Cik Fuad?
This is a question that is very close to my heart. being a HR practitioner.
Yeah.
Okay, let me put it this way. HR is an employee champion,
Right.
right? And at the same time, they are also the protector of the organization.
I like the way you put it.
So, as an employee champion, HR must treat employees as human, not just a number in the headcount.
Absolutely.
It's human resource after all.
Yeah.
So when you manage human being, you are actually managing emotion and motivation, not just tasks. Yeah? And then, as the protector of the organization, HR person must have, the sense of deep empathy in them. So they must ensure that there exists a harmonious industrial relation practice in the organization that can regulate the employee-employer relationship. Yeah? So that organization can continue perform and without any disruption. and which in return will also benefit the employee, the shareholders, the community, and the country. Yeah? So, as a HR professional, one must have deep empathy to understand the employee's predicament, and at the same time must have the courage, to advise management on the appropriate measures that does not jeopardize the employee-employee relationship.
Absolutely, because policies are in place. We've got a lot of large companies, small companies. It doesn't matter. Tapi they have policies, SOPs, everything is in place. But the second the employee loses their trust in the management, they go towards the HR. And if they lose the trust on the HR, then the system fails by itself.
Yes.
Right. What happens when the bully is among the senior leadership? What do you think?
Okay.
Tough question.
Yeah.
Close to heart.
Close to heart.
So we know lah, like I said just now, we all come from a different background.
Yeah.
Definitely we have our reporting line. That means we constantly have people above us,
Right.
unless we are the owner of the company itself lah. Okay. So this puts this kind of scenario at a high risk lah. Coming from a health background, we have people that we report to.
Yeah.
So if the chain of command is actually done in the right way, I think even from the senior leadership all the way to the bottom, we should be respecting everyone lah. Meaning we should treat everyone right. But when this doesn't happen, this is where, when senior leaders feel they are more powerful than the other and all that, there becomes an imbalance in the power, right? So the victims become silent. So let's say I'm at the lower chain of the hierarchy. So I feel like, I'm being pushed to one corner and I become quiet, meaning I cannot really speak up about how I feel because I feel scared. And then number two is when I feel that, maybe reporting is dangerous, because of course a lot of us will worry about the consequences when we report something, Like just now how Encik Fuad said, even though HR is supposed to be protective, but not necessarily whatever we report will be taken in the right way. It can always backlash to us. And the other thing is that sometimes in certain places, certain cultures are normalized.
Yeah.
Like even if we consult a friend, let's say I speak to you, you'll be like, alah, it's okay lah Ruta, benda ni biasa je kat sini.
Yeah.
But what is normal for you is not
It's not
necessarily
normal.
normal
Yeah,
for me.
others, yeah.
So that's why this becomes, it has a very high impact lah, if you ask me.
What if we tell ourselves or the victim say, let's normalize this, or tak ada apa-apa lah, and then we get on with our lives. But how long are we going to face this? So when we face all this, mental health, anxiety and all, what's the real cost to that?
So actually, if we look at it, at the end when we try to normalize something, when it feels abnormal to the person, it definitely has a high impact. Number one, they will start feeling anxiety, stress, and then they don't look forward to coming to work already. And when they don't look forward to coming to work, they start to have attitude problems, which this then will in turn affect the company. So we're talking about if we are going to replace one staff, we have to think about all the cost impact also. Rather than if we can make the work environment better, we can actually retain the staff and we can actually cut the cost, on instead of replacing. So like from a health perspective is that when you bully someone, sometimes it's also considered as occupational hazard lah. Meaning that shouldn't be happening. We also have our way of reporting if, people feel bullied even in the healthcare facility.
Yeah. So occupational health hazards for psychosocial is actually a reportable disease under DOSH,
So it's a
Department
court
of
offence.
Occupation Safety and Health. Exactly.
Okay.
So psychosocial hazard is actually a recognized hazard at workplace, similar to physical and chemical and everything else.
So it's a legal offence.
It's a legal offence, yeah.
Okay.
If
So-
diagnosed.
So if this legal offence occurs, we take it to court, what really happens?
Actually, it is okay for an employee to take the matter to court, right?
Right.
See, because Malaysian employees are quite fortunate because there are strong laws that protect employees. A Malaysian employee can actually invoke Section 20 of the Industrial Relations Act 1967 if their employment condition become intolerable, okay? But then by claiming constructive dismissal, so that means they have to tender resignation in protest, right? There has been many cases where the court has actually upheld the constructive dismissal claim from the employees arising from bullying cases and so on.
So it seems like it can go all the way up to court. It's not something we should take lightly. But of course, we don't want the cost of doing all that, going to court, anxiety, mental health, all that. Productivity is affected there. So how do you think we're going to fix this, Encik Fuad?
You see, organization are made up of people,
Yeah.
right? As human beings, we all have our own worldview, right? So there need to be something that can guide and influence people to act and behave in the manner the organization want it to be. Yeah. So the HR department of a well-run organization will normally have policies and framework to promote this. Some of these policies, which the HR person can come out with, including educating their staff and leaders on the policies and framework. Yeah? Things like core values. So core values is not something that you just put on wall, but it's something that people must internalize.
They must believe and
they must
cultivate in
believe.
their daily
Yes,
lives, yeah.
and action can be taken against you if you do not follow the core values. Yeah, one thing. And then very important now is the whistleblowing policies. So this allow the opportunity for employees to bring up issues without the fear of being punished, right? So they'll be protected.
Yeah.
Okay. And then policies on inclusivity, diversity, equality. This will ensure that people are not silent.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely.
And then I think another important one is performance management framework, consequence management framework. Let people know how to perform and when am I not performing. Right? So by having all these policies and framework in place, the organization actually set explicit standard of behaviors. Yeah, that they expect the employees to behave.
Yeah. So I think we have to move beyond policies as well. We have to build a culture within the workplace. We have to train leaders in emotional intelligence, especially when they're leading manpower, humans below them. Encourage early reporting in the case of any workplace bullying is recognized. And protect the whistleblowers. That's very crucial because it shouldn't end up in court. Court is the last. That means the system has failed if they've gone up to the court. And ensure there's transparent investigations involved. So usually when something has gone up through the whistleblowing policy and a case has come up, the ones investigating the matter should be completely independent. It should be an independent board appointed by the managers or the employers, and then it should be investigated in a very transparent manner, very fair manner, very discreet as well. High standards build performance, but fear destroys people. Fear destroys talents as well. So if your leadership creates fear, it's not excellent, it's damage to the organization.
Agreed.
Yeah, so I'd like to add on to Dr. Vicky. I know in public health, we don't wait for the disease to worsen, right?
Yeah.
We act first.
Prevent.
Yeah, we always prevent. We talk about prevention.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
similarly, when it comes to toxic workplace, we should fix it than waiting for it to actually go to, escalate up to the court.
High standards, huh? We have high standards, but we must be sure that it doesn't destroy people as well.
Yeah.
So you don't create fear and prevent all this from happening. Thank you so much for your expert opinions today. So before we end, here's something for you to listen and think about. If an employee is afraid to speak up, is that discipline or is that dysfunction, right? So if HR also cannot be trusted, is that policy failure or also leadership failure? So workplace bullying is not always loud. Sometimes it's invisible, like all of you mentioned today. But the impact is very real, and we want to prevent that from happening. This is Sihat Beyond The Clinic. If this conversation resonated with you, please share with it to your family and friends, because silence is where toxic workplaces survive. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.